How did you two meet?
How did we meet?
We don't get that question very
Yeah, we
often.
never get that question.
Wait a minute, on the show?
Oh.
No.
In real life.
Right, I'm what is it?
If you didn't know.
She's in a tree and she says, ooh, local hottie.
Because he knows the lines word for word for that section.
Or not. I heard it from a fan.
For those of you that don't know, Yuri and I are married in real life.
Right. And we met working on a movie in New York. And don't ask what movie because you never would have seen it. It was a little independent film. And we met there. Didn't start dating right away because that's not professional. Never date somebody you work with. But ended up dating later.
Actually, our very first kiss is on that film.
That's true. So the very first time we kissed ever is immortalized forever in a movie that you will never see. But somewhere, it's on film, somewhere. And we started dating, and we, believe it or not, we eloped to Vegas.
Got
We eloped
married
in Vegas.
While we were
So got
driving
married
across
in
the
Vegas.
country.
Yeah.
That was a little over 7 years.
ago.
I know, isn't it weird after 7 years? And 7 years in Los Angeles and Hollywood is like, it's like, like 1,000 years, right, in real people's marriage.
But you said that question.
Yes.
You were both put into Naruto, you were both taken together as voices together?
When we get cast? We audition separately. We don't audition, I mean, when we go to auditions, Yuri has auditions, he goes on, I have auditions, I go on. Because we both work in voiceover, a lot of times we'll end up auditioning for the same studio or the same production, but they don't bring us in as like, you're not like, we have to call Yuri and Tara. Like, it's not like I mean, like, they're really entitled.
Like I mean, we're a team, but we're not like a team.
Yeah. There's plenty of titles that we worked out separately. I mean, they're not required to cast both of us. Although that would be fun if they were required to always cast both of us. We'd always work together.
And because of the nature of this show in particular, the show being Naruto, they didn't cast her role still for several months after, I think. They cast the original stuff. They wanted to cast the people who were in the first, batch of episodes. We didn't know how many episodes we were going to do. We didn't know if people were going to like it. We thought people might like it, but you never know.
Yeah, I actually originally auditioned for Sakura, and I auditioned for Ten as well. Because they just sort of bring you in and they're like, well, try this role. Okay, try this role. Oh, we like Tamari. Okay, you do some more of this Tamari. Okay, wait, can you do a little more of that? Okay, yeah, we like that. So you never really know how it's going to work out.
That's pretty much how that goes. You all the way in the back.
Okay. Have you ever met the first people that spoke for the Japanese people that spoke Naruto?
Have we met the Japanese voice actors that play our roles in Tamari and Sasuke in Naruto?
No, but we would love to, and we almost did.
When we were in Japan, we went to Japan last year, and we got an invitation from the studio in Japan to come into a recording session and get to watch them and meet them. But unfortunately, the reason that we were over in Japan was we were doing a movie.
Which is not unfortunate.
Well, no, it wasn't. It was exciting that we were doing a movie.
Right.
But because we were there to do the movie, it was a day of filming, and they wouldn't let us off the set. So we couldn't go to the Japanese studio because we were required to be at the movie because that's why we were over in Japan.
I don't know that anybody from the cast has actually met their Japanese counterpart.
Yeah. And we would have loved to. We really tried to make it work out. We tried to see if there was like a lunch break that we could run over, but it just didn't happen.
We owe so much of what we do to those original performances.
Yeah, but they were very generous in offering us a warm welcome to come to the studio, which was lovely.
Yeah, they really tried to make it happen over at the Studio Hero.
Yeah.
How about with the Dot Hack shirt?
How did you two get into acting?
How did we get into acting? Well, when I was a little kid, I knew that what I wanted to be when I grew up was a neurosurgeon. And I was pretty confident that I would make a fantastic neurosurgeon. And then sometime around when I was like, this is when I was like 3 or 4, I was pretty sure that I was going to be a neurosurgeon. So by the time I was maybe like 7 or 8, I had decided maybe not neurosurgery, with the whole having to cut people's heads and take their brains out. And I started to see a lot of theater with my mom, and shortly after that I was like, ooh, what they do, I like that. And so I got into acting when I was like 9, and I started doing stage, production, theater, anything I could get my hands on, I was just hooked. And so I've been acting since I was 9.
And I mean, I've been a goof-off for a long time, which doesn't necessarily count. I never really thought that it would be something that I could do. My dad was in the Foreign Service, and it was just sort of assumed that I would probably go into some sort of government thing. And then in high school, I saw people, in the theater club and doing plays and so on. I thought, I'd like to try that sometime. But I was busy with, gymnastics team and one thing or another, playing Dungeons and Dragons, whatever I was doing at the time.
16-sided dice.
And so I would always put it off. I'm in high school. I'll try it next year. And then finally, in my senior year, I said, well, I'll try it next. Oh, well, there is no next year. Maybe I should try out this year. And I did. And I did a Shakespeare play, and then we did Pirates of Penzance, and then we did Dracula. And I was hooked. I mean, really, from the first play that I did, I was pretty well hooked. But then I didn't think that I would be acting as a career, or could even really contemplate that. And so I kept doing acting sort of on the side, in amateur shows and making the movies with my friends and that sort of thing. Studying, and I studied. I did a lot of plays in college. But I kept thinking that, well, what I would do for a career, for money in the future, is probably some sort of government thing where I speak languages and so on. And so I'd been studying Japanese, and I got a job for 2 years out of college working for the Japanese government, for a local government office. And even when I was in Japan, I was doing plays. I was, this and that and the other. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to have to. I don't want to look back in 20 years and go, wow, I really used to like that acting thing. I wonder if I could have, done something. And so I said, okay, I'm going to have to go try it. So I moved back to the States, and I spent 6 years in New York doing basement theater and independent films, and then finally moved back to Los Angeles, and that's when we started we met at that point, and I got married, and that's when we really started to be able to do it as a career. But it took a while. It took a while to make it happen. You, sir.
Okay, this is for them. Okay, I can hear, when I hear your voice, Yuri, that I hear Ben 10 and all other actors, sometimes Sasuke. But when I hear your voice, I don't hear Tamara at all. How did you get that voice to get it so well?
Thank you. Well, what I tend to do, because my natural speaking voice is slightly higher than Tamari's voice,
Yeah.
what I try to do is not so much just lower the pitch of my voice, but I really try to focus on the attitude, where she's coming from, like the core of her being, like who she really is, and that naturally starts to bring my voice down to a much stronger, more powerful, resonance. Just because I'm thinking about what she's going through, what's going on for her, what her attitude is, where she is in life in that moment, and that starts to change my voice. I think a lot of times that's the key for me on how I figure out characters and the voice that I tend to use for that, is I really just try to focus on the attitude that the character has and allow that to sort of color where I place my voice, much more than just technically thinking about placing my voice. I try to go more from the emotional side of things and then let the voice sort of fall into place. But yeah, you'll find that if you just listen to me naturally, I'm a much higher sort of more perky, more light, more bubbly sound, and that Tamari tends to be a lot stronger and a lot lower.
Yeah, because when I hear you, I hear wow, that's Ben.
Yeah. Yeah. But occasionally, I mean, I have played characters that sound just like me. I mean, you never know exactly where characters are gonna line up, and Tamari tends to be a little stronger, but other characters tend to be lighter.